Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take, episode 244. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are
Hey,
you this week?
I'm sorry. Hey, how's it going? I'm off my game today, yo. I am like sick. I left the window open yesterday.
I can hear it,
So
man. Yeah, you're like stopped up.
yeah, I left the window open. It was raining and shit. I thought it would be cool to leave the windows open and the fan and shit, but apparently that fucks with you. So I am sick. My wife is totally fine though. So fuck me, I guess.
That's good.
Right?
Quarantine, man. No.
No, I think it's just my sinuses or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, probably allergies, to be honest. You probably
Yeah.
let all the pollen into your fucking place and you're done now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we
Just
won't. We're not gonna mince words this week. Let's get right into it so we can get you out of here and you can go rest up. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, is there anything you want to talk about, or should we just get right into what we're playing?
Yeah, I don't have anything this week to talk about, so we can get right into it.
All right, let's do it. So I'll go first. I'm mostly playing. I've been playing a few games actually, but Honkai and Genshin, playing those. I will say one thing about Genshin. I've been focusing pretty heavily on exploration in the last week or so,
Hmm.
and I'm enjoying that a lot. I think I've said this before. It's like my favorite aspect of this game is just running around and exploring the open world. It's just, I don't know. I just enjoy it as an activity, and unfortunately, it's one of those things like it's not something like once you're done with it and you're caught up with the current content, there's nothing to do until the new stuff comes out. So that's kind of why I drag my ass with this game a little bit, where I don't like complete everything because it. I mean, we're talking months before you get a new region to explore, things like that. So sometimes and it's like my favorite part of the game, so I'm kind of trying to savor it a little bit. So I've been doing that in Genshin, having fun with that. But I did beat Star Ocean: The Divine Force over the weekend, and this game it took me about 30 hours. I think my clock when I was done was right around 31 hours total. And it was interesting. So I had stopped playing the game for like a week, and when I came back to it, I kind of blitzed through it over like 2 or 3 days, and it was interesting. So the first 60% of the game, that's kind of where I like kind of stopped and took that week break. Happened was like fine. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Like the game was solid for sure. But I will say my honest feeling on this game is that I think the back end of this game is a lot better. Like the final third is a lot better than the first 2/3 of the game, and unfortunately, kind of doesn't do the game a service because I don't think a lot of people that aren't Star Ocean fans got to that final 2/3, because it's about 20 hours before you get there, and it's not bad per se, but it's just not interesting either. There's really not a lot of interesting things happening in the story. The world you land on is, I mean, it's cool and all, but it's like kind of just your own. It's just fantasy shit, and if like shoved into this universe. And like I said, every Star Ocean game kind of does this, where you get stranded on a fucking fantasy world. Like that's the trope with this franchise at this point. So that part, like if I hadn't pick the game back up, I would have been doing myself a little bit of a disservice because I think the story gets a lot stronger actually, like right after where I stopped. The thing I will say though is that the exposition, it gets really exposition heavy in that final third. Like there is more dialogue and cutscenes in that final third of the game than there is in the rest of the game put together. Like, and it's probably not even close, to be honest. Like it is super exposition heavy. There's tons of cutscenes. There are some like fairly lengthy ones too at certain points. I'd say 5 or 10 minutes at times. So it definitely gets a little verbose towards the end. So that might not be everybody's cup of tea necessarily, but I do think the story is fairly solid in that final third. of the game. But everything else I said about the game still holds true. Gameplay, is interesting. I will say, in my opinion, that the gameplay definitely gets stale towards the end of the game, because once you've got kind of built your characters out and you've got their combo chains in the format that you want them, that you think works best for you, there's no real reason to change them after that, because you're not going to really get too many new abilities to add in. The skill trees are not that large, and once you kind of beeline to the skills that you want, like the rest of those skills, you'll get them eventually, but you're not going to use them, so they don't do anything for you. So mostly it just be kind of comes a game of grinding and getting yourself statistically stronger, ultimately, in the back half especially. So that might not be everybody's cup of tea either, but the game's solid. It's serviceable. It's a fair, definitely a like a fine JRPG. It's not the best in the series. It's not even close to that, in my opinion. But it's good enough. So it's a pretty good game. I'm glad I played it. It definitely has gotten me into a Star Ocean mood. I am super fucking amped for the second story R coming out next week. I am fucking so ready to play that game. So yeah, that's Star Ocean: The Divine Force, and otherwise I've just been playing. I started Spider-Man 2 after that, so we'll get into that here in a second when you talk about the stuff you've been playing. So, what have you been playing, Montrell?
I played some League of Legends. It's okay, and
Yeah, true. We did
yeah,
play that on Friday last
yeah.
week.
I thought it was fun when we were playing. I know we were
I
getting a
did.
little
I did too.
frustrated,
I
but
I know nobody. I know nobody like answered you the next 2 days, and I did feel bad about that. But I was really trying to grind out Star Ocean. So I just didn't. I didn't want to interrupt that. Because I felt like I was in a groove. But it was fun, dude. I felt like the session we had on Friday was fun. I definitely get what you mean. The game feels different, certainly,
yeah, yeah.
than
Um,
it did.
yeah, I definitely like the changes. I'm definitely liking. I like playing support now. Like that's probably almost my exclusive role going forward now because it's just so stress free. To play that role, and yeah, I think it's one of the most underrated roles in the game. To be honest with you,
Hmm.
to be honest, yeah. So I understand why people play support now because it's actually very fun.
Yeah, it is
Um,
fun. The only thing I don't like about it
mhm.
is the warding.
Oh
I'm not.
yeah, yeah.
I am not super good at warding, and I don't like it in Dota or League, really, and that's like the
Really?
worst part of it. Yeah, I don't know. I can never get myself into a rhythm with it, and I think my problem is that I don't main support, so I'm not getting into a routine of doing it. So like if I play support, I'll then go play like carry the next game, and the
Mhm.
carry doesn't fucking ward, so you don't even think about it the whole game. So then when you go
Yeah,
back to
that's
support,
true.
you're kind of in that mindset, and that's the struggle for me when I play that role. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's like a carryover for me from jungle because jungle has to ward. We have to, track the other jungler, and then we have to track like other wards to see if we can gank. So it's just like a carryover for me. So I automatically ward now. I mean, I'm automatically warning when I'm a support.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, even when I was playing solo games yesterday, I was frustrated, but it was like we had, for instance, this was crazy. The enemy team had a Zyra that went 40-3.
Oh my Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but the game still lasted because they couldn't close out the game.
Wow. Well, because it's fucking Zyra who got all the
Yeah.
kills, not an actual
Well, not
carry.
Zyra. I'm sorry, Zaya. Zaya.
Oh,
Zaya.
okay, okay, okay.
Zaya. So yeah, so Zaya, she had like 40 kills or whatever and everything like that. And I don't know, they couldn't finish the game out and stuff like that. The game lasted for like 45 minutes.
Hmm.
Um, but we lost, but it wasn't like we were going down without a fight. Like we took it all the way to their base, and then we just lost one team fight. And the game was so far into the game that one team fight can decide the game. That's what happened.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like the game's in a good spot now. I really can't wait till they get rid of the mythics.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's gonna be a real game changer and stuff like that. And even like I don't know, I think all the little free to play games are kind of changing up their mantra now because they feel like they have to actually try. I think a lot of players are leaving these free to play games because even Apex, they're changing up their formula and everything, how they do stuff. It's going to be interesting next season to see how it all pans out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for both games actually, because I think next season for Apex starts next week.
Oh shit! I had no
On
idea.
Tuesday. Yeah, it starts on Tuesday for next week. I'm looking forward to those patches and everything. Finally did cross progression, so now I can play on PC or I can play on PlayStation or whatever the case may be. And all my stuff, all my accounts will merge together.
Mm.
Uh, so all my skins in my PC account that I have only have like 2 or 3 skins, but all my PlayStation 5 skins will be available to me on my PC now. So I think I might start playing on PC. Still gonna play on controller, but I'm gonna play on PC because of the 120 frames I get or 40 frames I get,
Mm.
which makes a
Mm-hmm.
huge difference. So, um, yeah. And I've been playing Spider-Man, so I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, I'll talk about League a little bit first. So the because I forgot to put this on my list, but um, those matches we played on Friday, yeah, I enjoyed them. I'm really out of practice though, dude. It's funny how rusty you get even a few months of
Yeah.
not playing. Like, oh my god, like I'm sitting there in lane with you, and I was playing Varus, and I'm like realizing how passive I was being. Like I wasn't poking or anything on the enemy team, and I'm like, I literally like apologize. I'm like, dude, I'm like, what am I doing right now? And but it was interesting to play that match because I was playing Varus, and I felt like I haven't looked at the changes in depth, so I don't really know what the huge differences are. But I was feeling like I wasn't hitting as hard in general.
Hmm.
My fucking arrow, the arrow charged up arrow that I have, the Q.
Yeah.
Like I felt like that was not hitting people as hard as it normally does. Like I wasn't taking off as much as people's health. And I'm not sure if that was maybe some reason within the game we were playing for whatever reason, but it like that's not a negative. Like I liked that element of it, even though was making things a little bit more difficult in lane. I did feel like health regen like felt like it was a little higher too for what I was. And that might not be a thing. This might just be something I'm thinking about, but it didn't feel like people were as squishy in lane as they usually are, and like it felt good to me to play, and the lengths of the games where you're totally right, like they're elongated a bit, and I feel like every game we played, we were behind in some way, and we still ended up winning at least one of them. I think I think we won one and lost three.
No, we won a lot
Or
more
did we win
games.
two? Did we win two and lose two? It might have been win. We might have gone 50-50, but
Yeah.
um, it was but yeah, every game we played though, I was at least behind, right? Like I didn't really
Hmm.
have any good starts where I got like, where I like exploded or anything like that, but I was able to recover in every single one of them. I was not useless in any of those games, which is a far cry from where we were, fucking several months ago when we were playing in May, dude. Like it was miserable. If I had a bad early game, I was done for the rest of the game. Like I was going to be useless basically. So it that's a nice change, and I'm glad that's kind of where they're going. I'm with you about the mythics though. I can feel the design pull down of those mythics, man. Like when we're playing, like I don't even really
Yeah.
want to build them, but I have to, like
Exactly. Yeah. It's like
it
a real
it's
weird middle ground right now.
yeah, ADC mythics right now suck dick. Like I hate them all. Like I don't like the quick blades and the infinity edge. I kind of want them to just go back to being legendary items. Like I don't like the fact that they're mythics, because if you're not going for a crit build as an ADC, then your options are literally Gale Force, and then I think it's Rage Blade, and that's it.
Well, usually
So
people would build like Yumas. So like usually Virus and
right, they go for
Jin,
the
Virus and
lethality
Miss.
items.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they go for lethality items. That would be
yeah,
your ideal is not to hit as much, but each hit you do does a lot of damage. If that makes any
right.
sense. Your attack speed won't be as much, but every time you hit, someone will feel it.
Yeah, and I think this is like a meta I need to get used to because that was kind of the struggle I was having with Varus a little bit. Is like I don't like. Should I just go lethality now with him? Like, because I've never done that before, and I'm not a huge fan. I was never a huge fan of it, but the game's different now, so it might work better than at least I
Mhm.
thought it used to. Like my normal like kind of crit build with Varus like worked okay, but it wasn't like super effective, and yeah, so it's
Yeah, I can't
interesting.
remember how his blight mechanic works and his W. I know you used to empower it, but does empowering it give it extra magic damage or is
It's
it just
magic
extra
damage.
damage? Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, so it's magic damage and then it's percent health. So each tick cuz you go up to 3, right? For each tick that somebody has, they'll take magic damage when you explode them. But if you activate the W, it does percent health damage on the next ability you hit with on that enemy
Okay.
as well as the magic explosion. That's why his burst damage is so fucking crazy high. Is because of that. It's 2 into 1 ability basically.
So I
And
wonder if
and
you
then
do a
then
hybrid.
the actual ability itself's damage is also added into that too. So it's a lot.
So I wonder if you go like do a hybrid build, like a hybrid lethality magic build, because you can
Yeah.
build like Nasher's Tooth, which gives you
Yep.
like 100 AP
Yep.
and attack speed, and then you can build like Yuma's Ghost Blade on top of that, or something
Yeah,
crazy
I
like
need to
that.
play around with it. I think that's probably more the route I need to go with him ultimately right now. It doesn't feel like pure physical with him is like that great, but I played 1 game with him, so I gotta
Yeah,
play some more and just see how things feel. He doesn't seem like he's in a super good place right now, though, in the meta, from what I could tell. But because yeah, I remember that game. We were like pretty pushed into lane a lot in that match,
yeah,
um, but I don't know. I need to play some other characters too, probably at this point. Try some other ADCs, but the Nyla game I played was pretty strong, though that one ultimately we lost it, but I felt good in that game.
it was still a fun game though. I still had
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that I came away with. Like we lost a couple games, but I was having fun even when we lost. I didn't feel
Yeah,
like we were just getting steamrolled. Which is that's what was happening back 6 months ago. So
yeah,
okay. Well, we can move on to Spider-Man. So you told me you've already beaten the game. You beat it Tuesday. You fucking like
yeah,
went crazy with this shit, dude.
yeah. I don't know what it is about Spider-Man games. It's kind of like the only game to do it. I mean, there are other games too, but I don't know if you feel it, but like when I play Spider-Man games, the gameplay loop is so addictive
Mhm.
that I can't stop playing it. Um, I don't know. The game is just fun, man. Like swinging around and being Spider-Man, and then the added mechanics of like the glide and everything like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, from Spider-Man 2018 to Miles Morales to Spider-Man 2. Like every time I touched the game, I just couldn't put down the game at all. And yeah, I don't know what it is, man. Like the game's fun, the combat's fun. I think the pacing of the game is way better than Spider-Man 1 by
Mm-hmm.
far. Um
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just say that cuz I think there are only, this is not spoiling or anything like that, but I think there are only 3 Mary Jane missions
Mm.
and they're not like the they are stealth missions, but she has more
I
options to
did it
do stuff.
again. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, but she has more options to
Oh,
do stuff, and I did complain about that on Twitter. I mean, I think I already complained about it on here. How action games in general have this weird thing where it's especially weird for Spider Man because Spider Man has so many good things going for it. The gameplay loop is so addictive. And I understand, like DJ put in the chat, in our other chat, he was like, well, Montrell, is because, casual players, they may not be as addicted to the combat as you are. So when you play like the Devil May Cries or the Metal Gear Revengeances or, Bayonetta or even Nier Automata did it as well.
Mhm.
But I feel like they did it in a creative way though, Nier Automata.
Yeah.
Um, but like other games or whatever, they try to do it in their own creative ways, and it really doesn't work. And Spider Man to me is no different. It was especially egregious in Spider Man 1. Spider Man 2, they toned it down a lot.
Mhm.
Um, And even God
I
of War 1 did it as
yeah,
well with Atreus. But I feel
yeah.
like in God of War 2, since you can upgrade Atreus, he felt like he didn't feel like a gimmick. He felt like an actual combat. He had his own combos and everything like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, which a lot of people
I
felt differently about that one, which was I thought was weird. I thought Atreus was fine in
yeah,
Ragnarok.
I didn't mind it. I didn't like his story segments. Like I
Yeah.
thought they were like
I thought his gameplay was a breath of fresh air, though,
his
you know?
gameplay was really cool though. I thought his gameplay
Yeah,
was really cool. I didn't like the
yeah.
story segments, like where you had to do little certain puzzles and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty arbitrary. But like his combat and stuff was like okay. I don't really remember being like annoyed when I played as him. I was annoyed with the stuff I had to do as him. The objectives they gave you as him. That's what I was
Yeah,
annoyed by.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Spider Man is a weird game to do because uh, you can unlock fast traveling in this game, and the way you unlock fast traveling in the game is by doing like
Side
finding
activities, yeah.
activities and stuff like that, crime activities, finding different collectibles and everything of that nature,
Mhm,
different bases around the New York City and stuff like that.
mhm.
Um, so you and then you can progress and then you unlock more stuff for that particular borough or whatever. And throughout my entire time playing Spider Man 2, I never fast traveled. I don't even know why it's in the game, and I understand like people
Yeah.
ask for it. There's a weird amount of people on Twitter asking for fall damage and
All
fast
damage is
travel.
in the game.
I I have no idea why. I
No,
never
no, no,
wanted
no,
to
no,
be.
dude, like, it's an option. You can turn it on.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why
Okay.
it's there. I'd never turned it on, and I like difficulty, but I
I
just never
turned it
turned it on.
on. I'll get into it, but I did turn it on for myself, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Um, and I don't know. I was just swinging and flying around. It was fun. Like the game is just pure fun to me, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those Ghost of Tsushima moments where I was just like, I just love this game. This is a really good game. I mean, there is
Mhm.
some stuff I didn't like about it. Particularly just the Mary Jane missions. That's pretty much it. And it's not even the missions themselves. It's what she can do in those missions that just makes
Mhm.
absolutely no fucking sense. So I
Yeah,
won't get into that. But yeah.
it's I think those are an attempt at pacing, like, because with my experience so far, right? Like I'm at it was weird. It's actually taken me like a day or two to get into this game. Like I wasn't going from Star Ocean to Spider-Man was really jarring. Like I could not play the game for the first couple hours. Like I was like a fucking idiot. Like I'm like fighting combat and I'm like I need to dodge. Oh nope, I'm dead. Like I kept like fucking dodges up, the timing of things up. I couldn't do my combos right. Like I wasn't using abilities like at the right time either. It was so fucking awkward looking. Like I probably looked like one of those fucking journalists who don't know how to play games. Like it was that bad. But I think the thing that the other thing though that was like kind of like a little off putting at first, I guess, was the pace of the game at the beginning of the game is seriously just like, dude, they are just jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing. You know, it's like they're like it's like Peter, Miles, Peter, flashback, thing with Harry. Like, you know, it's like they're trying to shove so much fucking story into this game. Like, dude, it's like a breakneck pace, and it was like really jarring at first as well. Because like there's no real ramp up period at the beginning of the game. Like you're thrown right into it, and then there's some slow moments here and there, but they're so quick. Like they're like 10 minutes maybe, and then you're like right back into going to the next thing, and you're fucking finding a clue, and then Miles is doing a thing, and then you know you're back to Peter. It's like the jumping back and forth like is a lot. So I think they noticed that, and I you know obviously they probably wanted Mary Jane to have a point in the game as well, like some part of the game also, but I think it's pacing to kind of break that up, you know, so you're not kind of getting overwhelmed with the speed of the story, I guess, but that's my theory.
That's that's crazy. I didn't feel like that. I felt like I don't know. I felt like the pacing was okay. Like um I did remember I did forget some stuff that was happening. So yeah, the
Yeah.
first hour was kind of like, all right, I'm trying to remember what happened or whatever. Um and everything like that. But I think they did a good job at like reminding players of what happened. And I skipped the segment where you can actually see what happened in the past events of Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I just went straight into it, and yeah, I skipped that part unfortunately. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought I don't know. Peter's face is still weird to me. I don't know why.
Dude, okay. I think the character models in this game are like actually bad for the most part. Like
I
Peter
would
looks
say,
horrible, bro.
yeah,
Peter,
Peter looks bad.
Peter, Mary Jane. I'd even go so far as saying Harry. Like actually, a lot of the
I actually
white
think Harry looks
characters,
okay. I think a
dude. A
lot
lot of
of
the
I think
he looks the best of the three, but he doesn't look great either. I think a lot of the white characters don't look good. Like they're
really
weird. They're weird. Yeah, even like Norman looks weird to me. I don't
no Norman does look weird. He doesn't look
I,
good at all.
dude, I think like Craven looks fine, right? Like the main villain, like Craven looks fine to me. Even
Yeah,
like Martin Lee looks fine, and obviously Miles and Genki and what's her name, Haley, like they all look fine. Like I don't have any problem with their models, but for whatever reason, it's Peter and like Mary Jane. Mary Jane in particular,
Mary
uh,
Jane, they did her so dirty.
dude, she looks. I don't know. It's not a good character model. I'm sorry. And in motion, in cutscenes when they're talking to each other and stuff, I don't feel like the mocap is there. You know, it's not. This is not the Last of Us level production quality on that stuff. Like it's not even close to that in my opinion, and it's like really noticeable. And when what, dude, are you playing the game on performance mode or fidelity mode?
Performance mode.
Okay, I had to change it to fidelity mode because
Are you serious?
the game looks like absolute ass in performance mode. Like
No, I
you know the
mean
scene,
hair.
dude.
The hair
No,
looks really bad. The hair does look bad in performance mode.
dude,
It
the
looks really
character
bad.
models look even worse in performance mode. But do you remember the scene when you go to Peter's house for the first time in the game? That
Yeah.
was what sold me on it. I walk into the house and I'm like, dude, this looks horrible. Like I feel like I'm looking at a PS3 game. Like I don't like it.
No, you're over
It really
exaggerating.
looks that
No, it
bad.
doesn't.
And
It
dude,
does not
I
look that
changed it.
bad.
I
No,
I,
it does not look that bad.
I
Maybe it's your
changed it.
TV or something, bro.
No,
No,
dude,
it
I
does.
changed it to fidelity mode, and it looks fine. But you know what was fucked up? I changed it to fidelity mode. I'm in the house, and the game's lagging, like it's frame dropping. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, what is going on with this game? Like, this is weird. Like, it should not be like this.
No,
So
okay. So I will say, I feel like, and this happened to me in Spider-Man Miles Morales. It didn't happen to me in the first Spider-Man game. There's a weird fucking glitch, and
yeah,
I can't believe it's still in the game. To where sometime you'll spawn out of when you get out of a cutscene, you will spawn as like a box or like a
yeah.
random fucking
Like,
object. And
I've not seen
it,
that one. Yeah,
it happened to me in Miles Morales. I still have the gameplay clip for it, and I was like,
yeah.
"What the fuck is this?" And it happened to me in this game as well. This game actually has some noticeable bugs.
Mm.
I don't know if you experienced them yet, but I've experienced it.
I
And
did with like wall running, and kind of clipping into buildings
yeah,
sometimes. I've had that
yeah,
happen while swinging a few times. Yeah,
yeah. And I honestly think it's the SSD that can't keep up with the web swinging. I think the web swing is too fast.
yeah.
Um,
The
I
game's
don't
going too
know.
hard.
Yeah, the game's going too hard and too fast, and yeah, there were certain instances where I was clipping, but it wasn't like all the time. But it was like maybe once here or twice there, but it wasn't like it wasn't like fucking anthem levels of clipping or anything like that or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I definitely did notice the quality. I don't want to say the quality is down, but I feel like the quality was stretched. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think the game is doing a lot more than 2018 or Miles Morales is,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I like I because I'm gonna guess the entirety of the map is loaded the entire time you're playing, and that is twice the size of both
Yep.
of the other games. So, and yes, it is on a different console, right? So, but we're talking about 60 frames versus 30 frames, right
Yep.
here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a noticeable difference. Like, dude, I next time you log into the game, I just like go play with it. Do it in a space that has a lot of objects, like boxes and stuff. Like go into fidelity mode, like change it from performance to fidelity mode, and you'll notice what I mean. Like textures are significantly different in fidelity mode, and I've never seen that stark of a difference between the two graphical modes in a game before. Like Horizon, not nothing like this. There was no
Yeah,
drop off
yeah.
like that, dude. In Horizon or God of War Ragnarok for me.
No,
So
you're
yeah,
definitely right. The hair, I immediately noticed it with the hair, like the facial hair
yeah,
of certain
oh
people.
yeah,
It looked very, it looked very PS4 ish, spiky. And I'm
hmm
like, and I put it back to fidelity mode, and it looks very flowy and everything like that.
well, the lighting
Um,
is significantly better in
exactly, yeah.
fidelity mode too. Yeah,
But yeah, Mary Jane is still ugly in both fidelity and performance,
she
bro.
is, bro. I'm like,
I
what?
will say you
Oh.
I mean this is not like spoilers or anything, but you do see Black Cat and she looks better. She looks the exact same. I'm like, they didn't fuck her face up. So this
Yeah,
was like deliberately for Mary Jane. Cause I'm
yeah.
like, if I was Peter, I would have gone to the Black Cat. Like I don't care how manipulative she is, bro. So I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean so getting into my experience a little bit, I guess. The game I'm definitely into it now. Last night I had a really like long, probably about 4 or 5 hour session with the game
Mhm.
for the first time, and I made a lot of progress, and I was having I'm into the game now. I'm getting the combat, I'm leveling Peter and Miles up. I'm starting to feel the combos and like how I want to play the game, right? Was fucking with options a little bit though, so I went into the options just to kind of see, because these PlayStation first party games are like the level of detail they have in the options nowadays has gotten absolutely insane. The things you can fucking modify with the game, the accessibility options are really interesting. So in there, so in gameplay, you can turn on fall damage, which I did do that, and I will tell you that it is a really awkward mechanic in this game. I would not recommend playing with it on, because in instances where you think you would take fall damage, you don't. You know, where you're swinging. If you're like swinging and you kind of just let go, and you're like kind of going more horizontally rather than vertically in your swing.
Mhm.
If you're low to the ground and but you're going really fast and you hit the ground and don't keep swinging, you don't take any damage. Like it's kind of not consistent where you take damage and where you don't. Like the times I've noticed that you take fall damage is when the fall is really vertical, and goes straight down. That's when you take fall damage more often
Okay.
than not. And I'm gonna turn it off probably tonight, because I just don't think it's doing what I want it to do. Like in theory, like to me, you should be taking fall damage whether you're like, if you're going really fast, even if you're going side to side, like horizontally, in the play space. Like if you fall though and you're going like a really high speed, you should take fall damage there, but you tend not to. So that inconsistency is making it so that I don't really like it, personally. And the other thing you can change, this is interesting, there's an option slider in the game menu, where you can reduce the assistance for swinging. It's like physics assistance, or something like that. I think they just call it swing assistance. But when you look at the tooltip, it says increases the effect. Lower numbers increase the effect of physics on your swinging. It starts at 10 by default, so it's got the max assistance going on. I slid it all the way down to 0 just to test it out,
Mhm.
and I would not recommend playing with this either. It is super awkward. It is not the way the game was designed. Basically, what it does is, in situations where you're on the ground, say like you fuck up a swing and you end up on like at street level, and with it at 10, if you jump in the air and hit R2, you'll start swinging. Like Peter or Miles will pull themselves up. You'll see this animation where they kind of pull themselves up and really like pull on the web string,
Yeah.
and they'll start going forward. If you have it at 0, that does not work. You cannot do that from a standing position. You will have to either run forward and do it, or in some way like zip to a spot higher up, jump, and then start swinging, because like what they're doing is not really possible, like with physics. So the assistance slider is very necessary for the game. It's just really funny to like play around with it and test it out. It is just interesting. It changes the swinging a lot, putting it all the way down to 0. The
Okay.
way like they don't swing around corners as smoothly. You cannot turn yourself like very well at all. Like you have to kind of almost slingshot yourself around to get the momentum in order to take a corner and things like that. And also even just going straight, it is not as simple as just like, you know, holding R2 and then letting go and pressing R2 again. Like sometimes you will lose speed depending on how you were swinging if you don't kind of do it the right way. So I think it's less fun personally. It is interesting. I'm sure there's a way to do it, and once you learn it, it might be more satisfying ultimately. But I'm not. The game is too short, in my opinion, to mess around with this. I don't want to impact my experience, so I'm just going to. I just went back to the normal, 10 all the way at the max assistance level. But um, it's interesting that that's in there though, because I don't, because that's the thing I've noticed with this game is I do feel like the swinging is not as smooth as I remember it being. What we were talking about, there's like more clipping into buildings and kind of getting stuck on geometry sometimes,
Yeah,
happening where like I feel like there's like hit boxes for where Miles or Peter will like stop on an object and or
yeah,
they'll land on an object and they're supposed to land and you're not really trying to, you're just swinging past it, but the game like grabs onto it.
yeah,
That's happened to
yeah,
me a few times.
yeah. I think so we talked about in the first, or maybe that was with DJ. I talked about it with, but in the first two games, they have a set speed for your like a max speed you can reach while you're
Yeah.
swinging, right? And I think this game, I think the speed is uncapped now. It feels
Yeah.
like it because you can go super fast if you're like really good with like web swinging.
Hmm.
Um, and I've done that, and I think the game, even though the SSD is there now, I still don't think the game can keep up with how fast you can go with the player, how fast the player can go, and that
Hmm.
results in like geometry not fully loading in as fast, and then the player will clip through because there are already instances of players like clipping through and getting to other sides of out of bounds and stuff like that, and finding secrets and stuff like that that they're not supposed to find. So I think that's just one of the drawbacks of the game. I feel like maybe they should have capped the speed. I know they give you a lot of options to unlocking swing faster and everything of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but this might have like you might have been over cooking it,
They
and
might have
I
needed to
think
dial it back. Yeah. A little
yeah,
bit. Yeah.
and I think I understand like they're trying to show the power of the PS5 and everything of that nature, and I'm assuming like the mid range PS5 when the PS5 Pro comes out, then there's probably gonna be some setting patched in to where you can play like the ultimate version of Spider-Man where that's not happening or whatever the case may be. So
Hmm.
um I don't know. I think I still had a lot of fun with the game though. I'm still having fun with the game. I'm like 2 or 3 trophies away from platinum. Um so I just gotta do those.
So,
Uh,
how many hours do you think you put into it? Is the 30-hour for a plat like
um
accurate?
yeah, because I was playing this like even though I was playing this exclusively, I want to say like my main story. I've been playing it for 28 hours, so
Mm. Yeah.
I just checked on my PS5 app. So yeah, I've been playing it for 28 hours, give or
Okay.
take a few, maybe like an hour or two within pause menus or something like that.
Yeah.
So let's just say for safety, 25 to 26 hours.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I feel like this is a cool trophy. I feel like all trophies should be like all platinum should be like this. I
Hmm.
don't want to play through the game again in a harder difficulty to get another fucking trophy. I hate that shit actually.
Yeah, I hated that they
Especially
did that with Miles.
yeah, especially like for me, I usually play the game on the hardest difficulty or under the second hardest difficulty. Um I never really play a game on normal unless it's like just ungodly hard. Um like to me, The Witcher was just like on Death March, I was getting fucking ass blasted. But like
Yeah.
the one
Those
under
ghouls,
Death
man,
March,
at the beginning of the
yeah,
game in White Orchard,
man,
bro,
yeah,
they'll fuck you up, dude.
yeah. I played the one under Death March, and I had a way better experience. to where I wanted to put it back on Death March. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, for this game, I was playing friendly. It's spectacular, but then it's one under there, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I believe that's the one.
Or amazing. I think it's amazing.
Amazing. Okay. Um, I was playing on amazing, and then I booted it up to spectacular, and then at the end of the game, you unlock Ultimate Spider-Man mode.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can go back and through and play it. I might do that, like just on a random, lonely, rainy day or something like that when I have no games to play.
Mhm.
Um, but I am also glad that it has this playtime because I can play other games now. I've been wanting to go back and play other older games, and right
Yeah.
now I'm in a buffer period right now because not a lot of stuff is coming out that I'm like really amped to play. I know Alan Wake is coming out, but it's like I'm going to get that like on Black Friday or something like that. I'm also gonna
Mhm.
get like Bait and Katos on Black Friday because I still haven't got the game yet. Um,
Mm.
so I have like a good month, or yeah, a good month to do play games that I really want to play, or older games I really want to play. Um, but yeah, I might finish the DLC. I might finish Armor Core actually.
Oh
That's
yeah.
another reason too. I dropped a lot of games because just how you were saying, right? You came from Star Ocean and you immediately started playing fucking Spider Man. I learned my lesson doing that when I played one game and I went to another game, and I was like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. I have to have like a buffer. I have to
Yeah.
play a completely different genre of game. Even though
Mhm.
Star Ocean and Spider Man aren't the same, they're still action games per
Yeah.
se as well.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I had to do that, and that's what I recommend to other players. If you're playing like two heavily similar genre games, give yourself like if you know you're going to be playing this game, give yourself like a week or two to like get all the buttons out of the game of the last game, and then go into the next game or whatever. So that's just my
Yeah, no,
recommendation.
dude. I beat Star Ocean in that same night. I'm fucking playing Spider Man. It was ugly as hell, dude. It was so bad. I felt like such. I was like, oh my god, what is wrong with me? It was so bad. I was like the worst Spider-Man. But what do you think of the split? Two things on the, I guess, the split protagonists and then the progression systems around those two protagonists. Like, how did you feel about that?
I actually didn't mind it, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be like weird, but there is a tree. Oh yeah, so you got your Miles tree, you got your Peter tree,
Yeah,
and then you have the same tree. I
shared one.
recommend for
Yeah.
people if you're the shared one. I recommend um it's kind of hard to recommend it because it's like they all do so many different things, but I believe I want to say the left side of the shared tree, if you're especially if you're playing hard difficulties, you want to upgrade that tree as fast as possible. And both the Miles and the Peter tree, you want to upgrade to where you can get focus fast as well.
Hmm.
Um, because those are super detrimental. And I made this mistake, but do not skip out on your suit upgrades as far as health.
Yes, the
Health,
suit. Yeah.
yeah, health upgrades are like I only had 2 ticks in my health upgrade, and I was getting
Hmm.
like two shotted by like in game bosses and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I had to be like really, really fucking good. And even like some of the more harder minions and stuff like that, some of the sub boss minions, I was getting like one or two shotted by them as well. So I would tell people like if you're going to play, especially going to play on ultimate mode, um, upgrade your shit as fast as possible. Upgrade your health as fast as possible because I believe that also has damage reduction in the suit as well. So yeah,
Yes, it does. Yeah, and then focus is part of the suit upgrades as well.
yeah,
I believe. So I
okay.
think, yeah, I don't know if you can get more bars through the suit upgrades, like
You
more
do, you do, you actually
focus
do.
pips, but okay.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. But then there's, yeah, so there's a lot of upgrade paths, and then there's upgrading your gadgets as well. Also in the game. So there's a lot of stuff in the game actually. It's like it's almost like a little overwhelming. I'm like, Jesus
I,
Christ, dude. Like, how many things do you want me to upgrade,
yeah,
Insomniac? Like
so I felt like that too, right? But so it's weird because I'm like the king of like I hate this shit, and I'm just either not gonna do it or I get fucking
mhm.
frustrated, and I'm like, you know what, it's too much for me, right? With this game, for some reason, all the upgrades they give you and all the different ways to upgrade and everything like that, everything just flows naturally, in my opinion. When you're swinging around, a crime may happen, or you may get a blimp over here, take a
Mm,
picture or something over here, or you
yeah.
gotta do this node or this node or whatever. And it's like that's why the game. I could have finished this game a long time ago. Like I could have finished this game on like Saturday, to be honest with
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
just did the main story quest. But I was just doing other stuff because like I was swinging on my way there, doing stuff like that, and I unlocked so many upgrades just by on my way to the main mission. I would get sidetracked, or I look at my Spidey app or something like that. Somebody will call me, and like you don't have to do the side quest. You can; these are optional, but I did them anyway, and I got a lot of gear and tech and levels and stuff like that. That's another thing. Your levels are gonna go up really fast as
Yeah.
well. Um, so I encourage people just to do the side stuff. Even though like it did feel very Assassin Creedy, the way they had everything, but like at the
Hmm.
same time, moving around the map is so fun, and the way that you get around the map. Traversal is a really big thing in open world games that I kind of forgot about until I played Spider-Man again, how important traversal
Yeah.
is for open
Oh yeah.
world games.
Yeah.
Um, and that makes or break the game for a lot of games. And it like I was hitting nodes and just going point by point by point because I was just having so much fun. I would intentionally skip a node that was right next to me to go to the way other side of the map because I just
Mm,
love fucking spider swinging and
yeah.
get that node on the other side of the map. So I mean, it, it's a fun game. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it may
Well,
sound like I'm shilling the game out or whatever, but like no, this game is actually like really
no, I
fucking
mean you're
fun.
right. Like, dude, I don't think anybody that plays this game is gonna say the swinging isn't fun, right? That's like the selling point of the game, and that's the thing about this game is it inherently is working with an advantage from a design space with as an open world game compared to other games, right? Swinging
Yeah,
around as
exactly.
Spider-Man is probably some of the most fun traversal you could put in a game, versus walking around as Geralt and jumping on Roach and running around on a horse. Like that's not fun traversal. You're literally
Yeah,
just holding a fucking direction to get from point A to point B. Whereas Spider-Man is like a lot more interactive in movement, So as a result, just running around the map is fun. And so the game inherently kind of has that advantage built into it. And I think they do a really good job with the design though of putting activities in front of you between main mission points
yes, yeah.
to distract you. And I've been doing the same thing, dude. I almost never do this with open world games anymore, where I do what you just said, where like I finish a main mission and then you get the next one that tells you where to go, and I get distracted on the way where I start hitting. I'm like doing a picture.
Exactly.
I do a picture over here. I do like a Marco's memory over here. I do the fucking like a side mission. I run into a side mission or a fucking crime happens, and I fight these like religious fire guys and save an oil tanker. Like I don't do that in most open world games anymore because I don't know. The activities feel cumbersome in a lot of other open world games, whereas in this, they're quick, snappy. They take 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes most of the time, unless it's a side mission. Like those take a
Yeah,
little bit longer. But
I'm gonna say, and you're like you're really selling the 5 minutes too. It's just like most of the time it's like 30 seconds, 30 seconds.
really, no, he's not wrong. Like the pictures, you literally walk up, swipe up on the touchpad, press L2, press R1, done. It's like you're out of there. And that's a collectible. It's like, so that is, I think an element of the game that is done really well too. They don't like oversell the fucking collectibles. Like they're not obnoxious. There's not this insane fucking puzzle for everything that you have to do.
Exactly.
And
I
I
will say,
appreciate that. They're like get in and get out and move on to the next one.
I will say for Peter, there is one activity that you will unlock later on that I personally don't like, and I
Mhm.
believe it is the puzzle type shit. It's not a puzzle type shit. It's just like annoying. I
Well,
don't like
Miles
his
has
his
the Prowler
yeah
safes with the
yeah
fucking weird like trigger holding thing. They're using the haptics really hardcore
yeah.
on that one.
And I thought that was bad too. I thought that was bad until the
Yeah.
Peter shit came up, and I'm like, oh my
Okay.
fucking god. I think Peter's is worse in my opinion.
Actually, is that
Um,
the plant thing where you're like you have to like make a plant or whatever?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh my god, I did the first one of those and I'm like, why is this so obnoxious? Like just let
yeah.
me walk up, make the plant genome and get out. Why am I like fucking like fixing the sprinkler system and Like I don't
Yeah.
like
Oh, so you did that one, right? You did
yeah,
this.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, what
I
am I
did that
doing
one.
here? Like,
I did that one plant one, and I never touched them again because I was like, I'll
mhm.
just finish this after the game. Like these
Yeah,
are
yeah,
annoying as
dude.
fuck.
No, that one. That was the first one that got me where I'm like, all right, this one kind of sucks. Like
Yeah.
like they didn't need to do all this. The little gene matching mini game, I don't mind that. That was fine. But
Yeah, I
then
don't
then when
mind
I
that at all. Yeah.
but when I finished that, and then the game's like, oh, go turn on the sprinklers, and then you turn the sprinklers on, and all the pipes burst, and you need to go fix like 12 burst spots. Like, I'm like, what am I doing over here? Like, what is this?
Maybe that's just that one. I'm hoping.
Yeah,
'Cause like I said,
yeah.
I haven't touched anymore. I'm hoping it was just that one. But like, I have a feeling it's
It was a
not,
bad
bro.
intro to the
Yeah.
collectible type for sure. I was laughing about that one because like even the Marco ones, like it's just a combat encounter. You just fight like one wave of enemies, and you get a thing, and you get a little bit of lore about Marco. It's like
Yeah.
those are fine. But yeah, that plant one was definitely a little weird. But no, I mean I think outside of that though, like overall, like even some of the side missions I have done so far have been pretty good.
Yep.
There was one I did where I had to go save this like varsity football player or whatever. And there's these like weird mirror puzzles, like laser puzzles that are like you have to like align all these mirrors so the laser points a certain way and reveals the next clue. It was an interesting side quest because it kind of ramps up. Like you do the first one, it's really easy. Then you do the next one, it's a little bit harder. And then when you get to the last one, it's like this hyper complex, like it's like spans like 4 buildings, and shit. I'm like, what the like I was like, what the fuck? But it was still fun. Like it wasn't hard. Ultimately, like it was fairly easy to do, and it was an enjoyable side quest. So
Yeah.
I do think so far like the game has good design. There's some issues with it, for sure. It's not like a perfect video game, but
Oh
like this
yeah.
is just
Yeah.
like peak. Like Insomniac though, like they just know how to make a really quality game, and even with the issues, like this is a really fucking quality video game. I would
Yep.
I would almost dare you to not have fun playing this game in some
You
like
would have to go out your way to not have fun with
no,
this game.
you're just like you're being a stick in the mud if you're saying this game's not fun. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. Like the swinging is fucking awesome. If nothing else, the swinging is great.
I mean,
So
I
it's
just who just doesn't want to go around swinging? I actually feel like I'm Spider-Man. That's why I do the crime shit because like you
yeah,
feel like you're fucking Spider-Man. A crime pops up, you're like, well, what Spider-Man do? He would go handle the crime or whatever.
yeah,
So I don't know, man. And you're right too. You said like they have an inherent advantage to the
yeah.
traversal.
Mhm.
But I feel like other games do as well. I feel like Assassin's Creed, right? We all know in Assassin's Creed and the way Ubisoft designed it, make the parkour fun, make the parkour more engaging. Like I
Yeah.
would love to be swinging side to side, running wall running like a fucking assassin ninja in fucking Baghdad somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit would be fucking cool, but they don't make it interesting. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
I'll point to a game, right, that you would think like, it's just a guy running around, but Dying Light, the traversal in that game was
Oh
the game.
yeah, yeah,
That was why that
exactly.
game was fun, was the traversal. The parkour in that game was amazing.
Yep.
And I'm talking about the original Dying Light. I'm sure Dying Light 2
Not
is
yeah.
just
I
as
haven't
good,
played
but
Dying Light 2, but
we
yeah.
haven't played it. Yeah, so but the original one holds up though, and it's fucking like that is the most fun part of the game is running around, just running around the city. It's like and that's literally just a dude running, and like climbing things. But it's very well done.
Yep.
I think it's an under I think it's an undersold element to open world games is getting that traversal to be an enjoyable part of the game, because if it isn't and like I will point at The Witcher 3 as an example of this, right? It's not really fun to run around in that game. It's just that
It's not.
the game is so densely packed though that you're not often running for large stretches of time.
That's true. That is true.
So it's okay in that game, but it is definitely something that drags. If you didn't have fast travel and you had to run from one edge of the map to the other, it would be fucking miserable. Like, so that to me is like that's like one of the elements where they kind of were lacking in that game, right? It was running around fun. And I don't know, like something like Star Wars Outlaws, right? That's going to be an open world Star Wars game. Is running around the open world and traversing the open world, is that going to be fun? Because if it isn't, then you're just running from point A to point B, and it's not like an enjoyable experience. And if the points you get to aren't fun either, then the game isn't fun. It just becomes a fucking slog
I
ultimately.
think
And
I think
that's
that's the
something.
one thing
Yeah,
that a lot of games get wrong. They try to pack their games with so much fucking content that
yeah,
even the side points take 10 minutes to fucking do, and no
yeah.
one wants to do
Horizon's
that
like that,
shit.
dude. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, Horizon Forbidden West is like that, and that's why the game is like it's good, but it's annoying by the end of it. you know?
yeah, and I just don't like that type of design. I just want to get to point A to point B. If I do a side mission, it should only take at max 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm being
Yeah.
generous with that. And I feel like Insomniac with Spider-Man, with all three Spider-Man games, actually, they really respect your time. Unfortunately, not with the Mary Jane missions, but uh,
Yeah.
I will say though, they respect your time in this game with the Mary Janes. Even though I didn't, it was just a gripe I have with games in general. I actually didn't mind the Mary Jane missions in this game. I will say
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
It's just a gripe I have with action games in general that do this shit, and it irritates the fuck out of me. But yeah, I feel like Ubisoft, I'm not Ubisoft, Insomniac rather, in all their games, even in the Ratchet and Clank games I play, like Rift Apart, they really respect your time as a player. Like they understand that you have a limited amount of time to play, and they try to respect it. And they don't try to oversell their game because they know their game's already going to be good. If that makes any
Mhm.
sense. I feel like when
Right.
I play like Assassin's Creed, the last one I played was Black Flag, and I love Black Flag, but it was still like it still kind of oversold itself. Like there were certain points where I had to jump underwater. I had to use the dive bell or whatever to go underwater. Then once I'm underwater, I had to go under the cave, figure out a puzzle in the cave, get the fucking treasure, then get out of the water, and then do the same thing, go back. And I'm like, that took me like 10 to 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 5 to 10 minutes or whatever. And it was
Mhm.
like, and they had the random encounters where you can fight other pirates, which I fucking loved. And like you can sing while you're so traversing through the ship was actually so much fun. In that game was because you had a pirate crew, and your pirate crew would be singing pirate songs, and that shit was
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking fun. That shit was so cool to me.
Odyssey
Uh,
had that too. The ship stuff.
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, Odyssey did have that, but did they sing on Odyssey? They have their
Yeah,
own songs.
I
Oh,
do
they did.
remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think they did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They would like, yeah, they'd be like singing and shit, and then you just run into a random ship and you'd start fucking fighting it, and
Yeah, that shit was so
um,
fun.
yeah.
In Black Flag, man. I don't know. Um, but yeah, to me, those are like peak Ubisoft games. So I'm like, they actually figured it out in those two games, right? But then everything else, they
Mhm.
were just like, fuck it. Like, I'm pretty sure Valhalla has some pretty cool, like, traversals. Because I would love to be a fucking Viking in a ship singing Viking fucking songs and shit like that. Like, that shit would be fucking cool as shit.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're fucking raiding other ships and everything like that. But like when you get on land, it's like, oh, I gotta do this run shit again. Like I don't, I don't know, man. It's just,
Yeah, it's like it's so boring when you're on land. It's like why didn't they think of like some way to make this more interesting and engaging? I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, obviously there is only so much you can do depending on what the concept of a game is, and that's my point about Spider-Man. It's just they have an inherent advantage of what Spider-Man is. So it's
yep.
not. I'm not saying that it's easy to develop necessarily, but they're starting further ahead than anyone else, right? Because it's like it's Spider-Man, bro. You're swinging around like it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like the only game that can touch it, and they should touch it, is Batman. I feel like There's no reason why Gotham Knight's traversal was so ass. I feel like uh, you have Arkham.
I just remember Red Hood like flying through the air, dude, in that trailer. Oh my god, dude.
He was jumping on the souls of like,
Yeah, what?
yeah.
What
And I'm like, dog, what the fuck is this, bro?
Oh my god, dude. Yeah. Yeah, so that's like taking it to an extreme in the other direction where they're trying too hard to make the traversal fun, and it's like taking you out of the game. Because yeah, I don't know, like that shit was fucking weird, dude, like in that game. But yeah, Batman is a good one to bring up. Like I feel like Arkham Knight was like traversal in that game was pretty good, like
Yeah,
from what I
yeah,
remember. I don't, the fucking gliding was crazy, with the cape. So it just is not like, it's not swinging around like Spider-Man necessarily, but it's still pretty good in that game too. So um, uh, one other thing I do want to mention though on the bad side with this game, and this was true in Miles Morales and the 2018 Spider-Man as well, is tight spaces in this game are horrible.
oh yeah,
Like Spider-Man controls like absolute shit on the ground, like running around. Just walking and running. He is so clunky and slow, and dude, it's like not fine at all. The detail there is just like you don't have the fine control that you do in the air, or like even in combat that you do, like when you're in combat. Like he just moves so badly. And anytime when you're in an interior space, when you're not in the suit, also does not feel super good either. Like it just, the control is weird because sometimes the game will make you walk up to something and press triangle to interact with it in some way, and that happens a lot in the game. And those moments are like, I hate them because the character does not control finely enough to walk up into the little zone that you need to hit in order for the button prompt to fucking appear.
yeah,
So sometimes you have to like back up and walk back up, in the right fucking angle. And like, it's, I don't know why they can't do that a little bit better. I get it, what the game is, but I do feel like there should be a little bit, it should be a little bit better than it is.
yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely pretty bad. I understand what you're talking about. 'Cause it happened to me a couple times where the button prompt would not just pop up at all. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah,
But yeah,
right. I'm right next to it. Like, what the fuck? And you can't
exactly.
you can't just move to the side. Like the character like has to like fucking like take a roundabout way to go to turn around. Like it's fucking, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have without spoiling anything.
Okay. Yeah, we'll hold off on story thoughts for this week, I think, cuz I'm just not far enough in the game to like speak to it too much, and you've beat it, so we're just going to cross over into like, spoiler territory probably. And you're not going to be able to hold back probably enough to talk to my experience. Um so yeah, we'll hold that off for next week until I'm further into the game. I don't know if I'm going to beat it in the next week, but I probably will try to. But yeah, no. So it's a great game so far though. Like, I mean, it's what we were talking about last week. Like, it's basically what we expected. It's going to be really good. We just know it. And it is. They delivered. So yeah. All right, Montrell. Let's move into the news. We only have a couple stories to talk through this week. And the first one is from Sony's old PlayStation boss, Shawn Layden. He hasn't been with Sony since 2019, but he's been out and about. We've actually talked about quotes of his in the past, and he had another one. He was on Kotaku's LAN Parties podcast and was talking to them about a couple topics: game preservation and then company consolidation within the industry. And this is a fairly long quote, so I'm just going to read the whole thing out. So, quote, he says, preservation is important. I'm hoping that more people in the industry, certainly the big players, begin to realize that there's an obligation and responsibility. This isn't throwaway stuff we're making. This is stuff that should be around for a long time because future generations will enjoy it in the same way that we have, and it's criminal that we're not doing more to protect it. Going further here, talking about the consolidation, quote, my concern around consolidation is that it often impacts creativity. For instance, it takes some kind of small independent wild horse studios and brings them into a larger conglomerate, and essentially time slows down the bigger you are. Time slows down. I'm also concerned when studios get bought and instead of enabling a way to create their game, they maybe get absorbed into a larger enterprise that's making a larger game. You know how many studios are involved in making blockbuster games that will stagger the mind. I'm just concerned
Mm,
about what it does to the creativity urge inside of the studios, and can they keep that sort of independent creativity alive, or do they just get absorbed into the larger whole?
let this man cook.
if we continue to coalesce around 4 or 5 genres, then we won't get the new players because those people have already said we're not interested in your genres. Don't kid yourself that someone who said no to Call of Duty for the last 15 years is going to start suddenly saying yes to Call of Duty. End quote. And yeah, man. Oh man, yeah, he knows what he's talking about, dude.
Yeah, let him
So
cook, man. He
what do you
sound like
think?
us. I
Yeah.
I 100% agree because like he actually I think he sees the trends. He sees the consolidation of gaming and everything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
in the bad way though, it's not good consolidation. Like
Right.
what we want games to get smaller but made by more studios. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like I don't
Yep.
need like we already said it last week or whatever. We don't need $100 million budgeted games and stuff like that. Especially after we talked to DJ and we found out that majority of fucking Nintendo games are made in the same fucking engine as Mario. And it's
Yeah.
like, and these games bring in so much money for Nintendo. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So
Yeah.
I agree with him. And another thing he's talking about is game preservation. So one of my friends, one of my really good friends, Aaron, I actually met him through Twitter. But me and him hang out a lot and stuff like that. I've known him for about 2 or 3 years. And he hates old video games. He's the same age as me, by the
Okay.
way. But he
Yeah.
hates old video games. He thinks they're pointless and well, they're not pointless, but he feels like he doesn't understand why people are remastering them. Now, so I understand his sentiment, right? I too, as we expressed, we were tired of remasters, right? But I also have to look at it from the other perspective, right? A lot of these kids are like 15, 16.
Right.
I don't know if you watched it was like this college like ESPN or something like that, right? And they were saying they're like what's considered old to these athletes, right? And these athletes are like maybe like 18, 19, 20, 21 or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, people born in 1995. I'm like, bro, you think people born in 1995 are old as fuck? Holy shit, bro. I was born in 89. Like,
Well,
what
bro,
the
you
fuck?
said 15 or 16, right? That means they were born in 2007 or 2008. Let that sink in
Oh
for a
my
second, guys.
god,
We
bro.
were in the PS3, Xbox 360 generation. So think about all the games that they were not alive to play, you know? And somebody was talking about music recently with and they were talking about how they don't listen to, and I'm kind of the same way. They don't listen to anything that has been made like after like 2010. And I'm like the same way, you know, unless it's like video game music. In terms of bands, I don't listen to any music that's been made like post 2010. And that's kind of true for a lot of people. Think about
Mhm.
your parents, for instance. Like there was kind of a year like cap point where they didn't really listen to anything beyond that year. You know, you don't necessarily know what it is per se, but it exists for them. And video games are probably the same way. Where, and this
Yeah.
is the point about preservation, right? Is younger gamers, you know, 15, 16. I mean, you're probably playing games for a decade at that point, you know, but you were born in 2008. So think about that. That means that you know nothing about any of like the 8-bit games, the 16-bit games, the fucking even the early 3D games. You didn't play any of those. Even the second generation of 3D, you were not alive for, you know? And to be honest, if you were born in 2008, by the time you were playing games, we were probably close to the end of the PS3, Xbox 360 generation as it is. So you probably
Yeah.
didn't really start playing games until PS4 came out. So like think about all those generations that we like some of us older players have all played, that by the time a kid even starts playing games, they have no exposure to any of it. So the only way for them to get exposed to it is A, to go out of their way to look for it, which, be honest about that, most kids aren't going to go do that, you know, unless they have a
Yeah.
real significant passion for the hobby, which most players are not going to have that. Or B, these games are remastered, brought forward, and made available on current platforms. Those are the only ways they're going to find out, like, and play these games, dude. So to me, it's like it's vital that this happens, and I agree with Layden. And it's really frustrating that companies like Nintendo make it so fucking hard to play their old games, or don't seem to care enough to bring their old catalogs forward. Because like now with the Switch, as much as like the Nintendo Online service is robust and has a lot of games available, when it launched, it had nothing. You know, it had like fucking 5 or 10 games. You know, and it's like that was coming off of a virtual console cycle where they had all these games that they have now, and they just let go of all development and didn't bring that shit to Switch by default, you know?
Yeah.
So that to me is like it's a frustrating stance for these companies to take because there's a whole new audience there to play these games. And sure, there's probably a lot of people like your friend that feel like, you know, old game is old, fuck old games, but I'm sure there's just as many people who feel differently and who would play these games and try these games, you know, and want to see what these games are all about and enjoy them, you know. So to me, that aspect of the conversation is definitely like it's almost a crisis to me because I think about like 20 years from now, dude, like, you know, we're gonna be in our 50s and we're gonna be talking about games from fucking 50 years ago. You know, that
Yeah.
we played when we were kids, and no
But you
one's gonna know what we're talking about, you know?
Yeah, and that's what's gonna be scary. Like even old movies are preserved, and I think there is a place for like for movies, for old movies, old music, and everything like that. I think it's funny. Like, damn, I can't say that because that would be a spoiler. Um, but like even in Spider-Man 2, there's certain aspects where they show you that the old is needed so that the
Mhm.
new can progress, right? And it was talking about in terms of music and miles or whatever. It's like a side mission you have to do or whatever. But like just in general, like for music theory and stuff like that, like yeah, we have like music tech and everything of that nature, but a that is true for a lot of people that they're not listening to stuff. Like I'm still listening to like hip hop, especially like local hip hop for me. As far as like local
Mhm.
in my state
Mhm.
of Detroit and everything like that. I listen to a
Yeah.
lot of local stuff that come out because I really like that sound of music or whatever because it still holds true to the roots of what Detroit or Flint or whatever it is or Michigan is in general. So now listen to that music. I feel like home because even the newer kids are making stuff that sounds like when I was there when I was
Mhm.
younger or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be. And
Yeah.
I think that's like a part of like a cultural local thing that's being passed down from like music generation. Um, so like for music, it's interesting because the reason why you feel like that as far as like bands and I feel like that too as far as like alternative rock, grunge. Like grunge is like dead now. Like that's like a pure 90s thing. You can't find good grunge anywhere. Um Punk rock and all those stuff like that. A lot of these kids don't have music in school. They don't take music classes or anything like that in school.
Mhm.
Whether the
Mhm.
school can afford it or whatever, that's a whole different conversation. But they don't take those classes no more, or they don't have that exposure to music because of whether they don't have time or anything like that. So therefore, they don't understand how to use an instrument. Therefore, all they know how to use is like music tech. Or I can use like an not electric guitar, but I can use a synth board that has an electric guitar on the synth board or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be. Or I can use GarageBand, blah blah blah. Point is, they're not tapping into the roots of music. And I feel like video games is the same exact way. You're not tapping into the roots of music. The reason why I feel like Nintendo's games sell so well is because you can play Mario Super Brothers Wonder right now and it still feels like you're playing Mario Super Land, but like, Mario Super World rather. But more modern and updated or whatever. Now for
Mhm.
me, the peak of 2D Mario games was Mario Super World, like Super Mario World rather. That game to me was just peak Mario. I was just like, I was blown away by that game, all the secrets and everything in that game. But like, I feel like a kid should be able to experience that right now. They should be able to without trying to get a fucking emulator or anything like that. Either they could be playing it on their phone because it's like what 20 megabytes. The game's like 20 megabytes or something like that.
Yeah.
You play it on
Yeah.
your phone. There's no reason why a kid shouldn't be able to play on their phone. But you know why they won't be able to play on their phone? Because Nintendo is like, oh, we're fucking anal about it or whatever the case may be. Or they should be able to play on their Switch. Kids should be able to go back and understand why Pokemon Red and Blue is the way why Pokemon is the way it is today. They can understand, okay, Pokemon Red and Blue, Pokemon Gold and Silver, blah 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 blah, and they can play those older Pokemon games to understand why the older generation of Pokemon games, the Gen Runners as they call them, or Whiners, love Gen One so much or whatever. Or we can go back and play and say like, oh, this shit's ass. The newer Pokemon games are actually better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you need stuff to you need that preservation to show that. And Shawn Layden's right. Like I don't understand why companies aren't doing this. I don't like the big acquisition of companies or whatever, because God forbid EA gets bought by let's just say Xbox or whatever, and let's just say Microsoft decides, hey, I don't want any fucking I don't want the Xbox division no more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everything associated with EA, that means like all the Star Wars games, all the fucking Battlefield games, all the Medal of Honor games, all those games are just fucking gone. And then on top of that, all the BioWare games are just fucking gone. Like they're gone. You can't experience Couture anymore. You can't experience Mass Effect anymore. You can't experience Dragon Age anymore. Or let's say, yeah, Xbox goes under. You can't experience none of the Warcraft games. You can't experience none of the StarCraft games anymore. You can't experience none of the old Call of Duty
Dude,
games anymore. Like
oh
that,
my
those
god.
games are gone.
At
Like,
this point, if Xbox ever dissolves out of Microsoft, the level like I don't like realistically, it would turn into a fire sale of IP. You know, like
yeah,
they would just be selling all these IP because there's no way the industry would just let all this shit go. But that's that's because of the nature of what they have, I guess, at their like in their hands. Like lesser IP, nobody cares about. That's why like Embracer for years was just buying up all this old dead IP that nobody gave a shit about, and they were like accumulating it, and they haven't done a lot with it. But it's I don't know. I think the preservation point, it's an industry wide problem that the industry as a whole needs to figure out. It's not something that any one company is going to do, it's going to figure out for everybody,
yeah.
and I don't know, and I think that does fall on the platform holders a little bit more than anyone else, like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. And I would like to see them like almost get together on this issue a little bit more, because they've all taken a different kind of approach to preservation. And I don't think I'd say Xbox is probably the one doing it the best, but they've also put the most effort into it, and they have the money to do that. So there might need to be a middle ground, there where I'd say Sony's probably doing it the worst. Nintendo's probably in the middle there, but I do want to point. So I want to go into the next part of what he said, though, a little bit
Okay.
deeper too. So, about the consolidation impacting creativity, and there's a couple examples that immediately came to mind when I was reading the quote, right, where he's talking about concern around consolidation that impacts creativity. He's concerned when studios get bought, and instead of enabling a new way to create the game, they get absorbed into a larger enterprise that makes making a larger game. And what I immediately thought of was Vicarious Visions from Activision, when they got moved into Blizzard a few years back, and they ended up making Diablo 2 Resurrected. And like that was a shame, because Vicarious Visions was a good developer, and they just became like a Blizzard fucking support studio, you know.
Well, what about
Um,
Crystal Dynamics? And they became a support studio.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I know, right? Basically, that's what Square Enix did with them too, right? That's another good example. And then the other one was where he says, um, what I'm just concerned about what it does to the creativity urge inside of the studios, and can they keep that sort of independent creativity alive, or do they just get absorbed into the larger whole? And this is the thing about consolidation that I think nobody talks about that much, is when you get bought by a studio as big as Microsoft, right? Is the imperative for you lose the imperative for you to make a game,
Mm-hmm.
because you're no longer beholden to your own success anymore. Like Microsoft, and Phil even said this, Microsoft does not tend to close studios because of financial reasons. It's usually other reasons. So studios almost get away with not making that many games. And I think of Rare with them. I think of fucking Obsidian with
Yeah,
them, like
yeah.
Rare is the obvious example. Obsidian is less obvious, but dude, like I think Obsidian, since they've been bought by Microsoft, is like
They have just lost all creativity,
they
in
don't
my
make
opinion.
games. Yeah, they don't like they. I almost feel like they don't make games. I guess this is more personal. They don't make games that I want to play anymore, and they used to only make games that I want to play. And it's like that's a really stark shift for a company in my opinion. For that to happen, that they shift that much, and it's Like, so Obsidian's an example. I'd say even Blizzard is a perfect example. When they merged with Activision, dude, that is a key like cut in time moment. You can draw a line in the sand there and see a change with them. I have always argued that Blizzard was already on their way to that change before they merged with Activision, but that merge though is definitely a line where you see a difference, and Activision kind of accelerated the change in Blizzard in a really negative way, and they've become a company now that they've lost that creativity that they had in the 90s and the early 2000s. You know, they're not that same company, and they haven't been for a long time. So yeah, I think that like that point right there hit home really hard with me because fucking like BioWare's another one. You know, they got bought by EA in the middle of making Mass Effect 3, or I think it was Mass Effect 2 maybe. And
True,
they
that's
made a
true.
couple more great games after that, and then what is it? A decade of fucking
Anthem.
garbage basically. Yeah. Like the one good game you could point at is like Inquisition maybe, and that's it. Like otherwise it's just been trash, you know? And it's like we don't even know what we're going to get from them. It's like you get absorbed. What think about if they had stayed independent, like where we would be with them right now. Like their trajectory would be totally different, you know? Like it would be totally different instead of trying to chase like fucking live service bullshit. We'd probably have like another trilogy of Mass Effect games, you know, that we would all love, you know?
Well,
Like
my
it's
thing is like, when did this consolidation thing start? Like, was it
it
EA? Because I remember EA was buying companies left and right back
and
in
then
like,
closing them.
and then closing them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it to me,
It's always
it's
been
like,
around. It's just gotten more stark in the last couple of years with Microsoft
yeah,
getting so aggressive. But I mean, studios have always been purchased. You know, that's not
yeah,
a new thing.
and I understand that. Um, but it's just like, do they feel like they need to do that in order to stay alive? Is
No,
development
it's
costs
for growth. I think they're trying to grow.
okay? I was saying, like, is development costs so crazy now that you feel like you need to be acquired? Ooh, excuse me. You feel like you need to be acquired
Oh, you're talking
to
about
make it.
from the independent company
Yeah,
standpoint, the
from the
one getting
independent
purchased.
company. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would say it's more. There's probably two factors. One of it is the owners of the company wanting to cash out, basically. Like they've become so valuable that they can become rich, and you know, once their contract runs out with once they're acquired, you know, usually there's a like they have to sign that they'll stay on for like 5 years or something like that after the acquisition. But once that period of time runs out, they can just fuck off and do nothing for the rest of their lives. Like that is one element of it. And I think the other side of it is more by necessity, where your company will not be able to sustain itself financially if you do not let yourself get purchased. You know, those are probably the two most common reasons why a company would get purchased to me.
Yeah, it just has to be a healthier way to do shit like this. Like, it just has to be some type of way to where, studio, like, I feel like, I still feel like Insomniac's one of the rare studios where, or even Naughty Dog to a certain extent, or Sucker Punch, even though they're owned by PlayStation, I feel like they're, maybe PlayStation has some kind of inner system where those companies are in competition with themselves, thus forcing the creativity to come out. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong about that.
Hmm.
But or maybe they just really passionate about the games they make, regardless of being purchased by anything or not. You know what I'm saying? All I know is we wouldn't have gotten Spider-Man if we got, Sunset Overdrive. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't have got these games to let Insomniac kind of flex their muscles and stuff like that. And even though Sunset Overdrive didn't sell as well, because it was locked to the PlayStation, or I'm sorry, Xbox at one point. And then I remember once it came to the PS4, everyone was like, "Yo, this game is fucking amazing!" Like, what the fuck? So I don't know. It's just weird, man. Like, I feel like you're also right too. It does stifle creativity because I think about Ninja Theory,
Mm.
like their spin on Devil May Cry. I forgot their other game they made, like Heavenly Sword. Then there was another game they made as well. Um, but like their games are very creative. Even Hellblade, like, that's fucking creative as fuck. The Battle
Yeah, but think about
PTSD. You know?
think about Hellblade 2. Like, how long is that game been in development? It would have been out by now if they were still independent.
Yeah, you're
You know?
right. It would have been out
Out
by
of
now.
necessity. Like, it would have needed to have come out by now, right? Like, I
Yep.
would think.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. That's the
Oh
game
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of.
Oh yeah, they made that. Oh fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, damn, they have a
Um,
pretty good back catalog.
yeah. No, man. That's why I like this studio so much. I think they're a very underrated studio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I feel like the only companies that are making like this is gonna sound very weebish, but like Japanese companies, because a lot of them aren't bought. Like it's
Yeah,
from software can make any fucking thing they want to now. Like they don't
yeah.
need to talk to everyone. Everyone is looking to them. Like PlayStation's probably like begging them, please, please make a Bloodborne 2 or whatever, please. And they're like, well, you bought the fucking IP, so fuck you. You make your own Bloodborne. They're like, no, we
Yeah,
need you
yeah.
to.
Go let Blue Point make a fucking Bloodborne 2 for you.
Yeah.
Sony, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they got Xbox like knocking at their door, like, "Hey
Oh
guys,
yeah,
when's your next fucking
bro.
exclusive or your
Dude,
fucking next IP?"
Activision Blizzard literally gave them a fucking contract to make Sekiro. Like they didn't even give a shit if it made money. They're just like, we want to make a game with you, you know?
Yeah,
Like that's how prestigious FromSoft is. Like fucking Activision dude did
and they
that,
got
you
a
know?
game of the year. That was
I know.
arguably one of the best action games to come out in the last
It's so
10
funny.
years. Yeah,
Oh my god, yeah, dude.
it's like they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Platinum used to have that same repertoire where they can do whatever the fuck they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Other studios like Suda 51, I think that's their name. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do.
Oh yeah.
Even certain Atlas games, the people who make Persona and everything like that, they can do whatever the fuck they want to do, even though they're like a publisher slash
Well,
developer.
they are owned by Sega, but that's actually an example. I think a good example of good acquisition where Sega bought them and we're like, nope, y'all do your thing. We
Yep.
just we're not touching anything. We're not gonna make you do anything. We're not pushing deadlines. Like you guys know what you're doing. You got it. You know, that's an example of a good
And then
a good situation.
you have like bad acquisitions where it's like Capcom, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say now, but I would say back in the early 2010s when this whole appeal to the West thing was going on with Capcom. They fired so many people. That's why we have platinum games today. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
like I don't know, man. I feel like as huge as of entertainment it is for video games, right? There's so much lost history to why games are the way they are today, to why companies the way they are today. And people just don't understand it. Like if a kid today that's like, dude, all I play is fucking Call of Duty Warzone, bro. That's all I fucking play. If you give them Big Red 1, Call of Duty Big Red 1 from like the Xbox generation or PS2 generation, they're gonna be like, this is a Call of Duty game. Like, yeah, man, this is pure single player. I mean, they had some multiplayer where you can play 4v4 on a little small map, but
Yeah.
it was like deathmatch style. But the single player in Call of Duties were like peak. People don't understand how peak they were. Like, and that's why I get so upset with Call of Duty today. Like, because I want that. Even though the campaigns are still good, don't get me wrong, y'all. Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2's campaign was really good.
Yeah, I gotta give them credit for that. That they keep making campaigns. You know.
Yeah, and remember that one small period and they stopped making campaigns.
There was one year. It was 1 year. I forget what year it was. Yeah, was that the BR year?
Black Ops 4. Yep.
Yeah, that was the BR. Yeah.
And everybody was like, "What the fuck? Like, this is ass. Don't do this shit again."
Yeah.
But I like that they still make really quality. They put money into those campaigns. They advertise it, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't fucking care about the campaign. What about the multiplayer?" But you still have people like me who are like, "Yeah, but that campaign looks actually really good. I want to play it, you know, but I don't want to spend $70 just to play a 10-hour campaign. Or maybe I do. Maybe I just need that's my $70 to get that quality campaign or whatever the case may be." But I don't know. Like I feel like even Halo has lost that what it was. You know, I played Halo 1 again, and that game was actually fucking terrifying. Like
dude. Oh yeah, there's some horror elements to that game for sure.
and they just lost it. They just like, well, we're multiplayer
Yeah,
now.
no, I mean it was lost in Halo 2. Like there was
Yeah,
Halo 2 just
immediately.
became Halo 2 just became like Rambo in space. Like it was fucking like dude, I remember Master Chief punching the fucking Prophet, bro.
Well, remember, I mean, it's still my favorite part of the. I love this scene, but it was like Rambo, right? Remember when
Yeah.
he was at the space station on the first level, and they were like, he's about to push the bomb out, and she's like, "What if you miss?" He was like, "I won't," and then he pushes the bomb out. Peak
Or
though, it was peak.
there's a quote. Isn't there the quote where one of the soldiers asks, like, "Sir, marching orders, or what are our marching orders?" And he says something like, "We're going to war," or something like that. I forget the exact quote, but yeah, dude, it's so fucking corny. Oh my god, but it's awesome though. It's great.
It's still peak though, but it's like we lost that. But even from Halo 1 through Reach, I would say they still had quality campaigns that the couch co-op. And I see so many people, man. It's so disheartening to see so many people say, I don't care about couch co-op anymore. And it's like, bro, that was like peak gaming with your bros,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just sitting on the couch or whatever. Or if you have a fucking LAN party and you bring the fucking router, you figure out how to do the switch hub or the router, and you bring your fucking Xbox or your fucking PC or whatever over, and y'all playing fucking games. Like that shit was so fucking peak.
We got to figure out how to get our friend group into this show, dude. Like, dude, I tell you what, man, I miss sitting down and just playing a game with people, like in person. There's something about online co-op that just does not do it for me. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know.
You know what I want to do? I want us to
Yeah.
play Baldur's Gate with each other in person. I know that would be a lot to do, but that shit would be so fucking fun, bro.
We could. I mean, you could do it where we're all sitting around and like one person plays and we all make decisions together. You could do that kind of thing too.
Yeah,
But
so
you're talking about hooking up 4 like computers and like we're all just sitting there playing it together, kind of like Angry Joe style.
Yeah. But I mean, like that's part of game preservation for me and stuff like that. And like, I mean, we don't get stuff like that anymore because all that stuff is dead now. And a lot of these companies don't have really any incentive to do that because they're getting acquired by other people, and you know you're getting sucked into the conglomerate, and you're just going to be, you know, another number on the spreadsheet. You know how many years you made this game. You know, so I feel like I 100% agree with Shawn Layden. I feel like all the creativity is being sucked out of gaming, and I thought it was maybe just me being old, but like I'm glad like some ex executive or ex president of the fucking of a major game company.
PlayStation,
like,
dude. Like he
yeah,
ran
like,
PlayStation. He was Jim Ryan. He was the Jim Ryan before Jim Ryan. Like,
and I'm glad he saw it. It was like, yeah, this shit's getting kind of out of hand now. Like, and it's not just Xbox; it's PlayStation doing it, and maybe Nintendo's doing it on the side as well. But like,
EA's doing it though. Take-Two's doing it. You know, Ubisoft's been doing it. You know, it's like,
I mean, yeah, like even like Take-Two and EA are clear examples of like what can happen if you do that. If it just goes all wrong or whatever.
yeah.
Like, you remember like the peak sports games we used to get. Like, I feel like people should talk about acquiring licensing too, because this kind of goes to that same situation. Like, say if you even liked NBA 2K23, you love NBA 2K23.
Yeah.
Do you know once they shut down the servers, your character that you made is gone. That's it.
That's crazy. Yeah,
and they already shut down 2022. I think.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you love 2022, 2K22, and your character you made like the best fucking character ever, and you just love everything. Yeah, get fucked. It's done. You're done. You're cooked. Boom. At least I can still go back and play the older Maddens. I can still play the older 2Ks, but like if I had a created character, I'm fucked. Like, you know, but I can go back and play 2K 2020 or 2K10 right now. And my created character in 2K10 or 2K11 is still there in my little fucking memory card on my PlayStation 3 right now. I can still play it and have a blast with that shit. You know? So it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man.
Well, his last point about, if we continue to coalesce around 4 or 5 genres, we won't get new players is so right. Like about in the last thing he says, don't kid yourself that someone who said no to Call of Duty for the last 15 years is going to start suddenly saying yes to Call of Duty. He's so fucking right about that. And it is funny that he says Call of Duty, but I think of Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed,
Yeah,
because they are turning into, like, they are becoming so reliant on Assassin's Creed that they are just going to shrink their customer base down to a very certain group, and that's it. That's who they're making games for. And like, that's a bad position to put yourself in as a big publisher like they are. And I mean, he's right though. Like, I mean, 4 or 5 genres might be extreme, but there's definitely there are certain genres that the big boys play in, and that's it. They don't go outside those bounds. Sony's not making a fucking JRPG. Fucking like Xbox. They're not making a fucking JRPG. They're making a Western RPGs, third person cinematic action games, first person shooters, and I don't know, like fucking sports games. Like, it's there's obviously certain things in there sometimes that there are exceptions to this, but I'd say Nintendo is like the one who actually still explores those smaller genres. They're still huge into platformers, and that's not a genre that most of the other AAA studios are playing in. That's not a space they're playing in, and Nintendo's finding tons of success there. you know Probably because no one else is fucking doing it. But even them, they make JRPGs. They got fucking Monolith Soft,
man, they make
and
SRPGs and
yeah,
look
yeah,
at. I think the greatest example of this, right? Even though I haven't played the game, is Baldur 3. That's a
yeah,
CRPG, and
right. Who
no
makes
one
those anymore? Who makes
exactly.
those anymore? You know, Obsidian, when they were relying on Kickstarter, yes, and then after they weren't relying on Kickstarter, no way, you're not making a CRPG anymore. You
Yeah,
know,
and I look at games like, and like people talk about older games and stuff like that. Like y'all look at games like Daggerfall, Fallout 1 and 2, even 3. And even though those games, right, I guess were kind of big budget, Fallout 3 was kind of big budget
hmm
at the time. It was so much creativity behind those games, man. So much good writing and just like they put their hearts into those games, man. Like
yeah,
like you were saying, like you like Heroes of Might Magic 1, 2, and 3. Like to me, like if I was a current gamer today and I'm like, ugh, what the fuck? But then I look at the comments of that game, and there were so many people like, yo, my dad used to play this shit all the time, and we loved it. Like, and I come to love this genre. It's so a shame that I'm not getting this game in my generation. And it's
yeah,
like that's crazy to me. Like that's what people are missing out on when they do shit like that. Well, that's what the gaming, sphere is moving out on. And to his point, right? Um, people are not going to want to play Call of Duty. People who don't play Call of Duty are not going to play Call of Duty, right? What if we took Sledgehammer Games and they had free reign to make anything they want to, right? Or Infinity Ward or Raven
I
Studios or whatever
know
the
the
case.
creativity
And
we're losing there.
yeah, like what if they really wanted to make another first person shooter game, but like, I don't know, they wanted to make a fucking Western game or some shit. Or
Well,
they
do you
wanted to
think
make or they just wanted to do
Respawn?
something. Yeah. Respawn with Titanfall.
Dude,
Like,
they were
oh,
born out of the idea of what you're saying.
yeah,
Like
we
it.
wouldn't have gotten Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor without them splitting off and doing their own thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally,
And
100%.
then
And
even companies like Naughty Dog, they were making platformers. They
yeah,
made Crash Bandicoot.
yeah,
If you told me back then in like 2007, hey man, Naughty Dog, they're gonna make this cool ass fucking zombie apocalyptic shooter storytelling thing that's gonna transcend gaming. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Naughty Dog, bro. They
Naughty
make
Dog,
fucking
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they make
When Jack 3 came out, and they got like sevens. Yeah, Naughty Dog is gonna make the most cinematically incredible fucking video game we've ever seen. Like what? What?
yeah, bro. tell me in 2004 when I'm playing Ratchet and Clank Deadlock,
Yeah.
I'm into that game. If I go back in time right now and look at myself and I'm like, hey, Montrell, you're playing Ratchet and Clank Deadlock? Yeah. Hey, bro, they're going to be making a Spider-Man game.
Three
It's
of
like
them.
three of them, and they're all going to be better than Web of Shadows. I would look at you like you're stupid. Ha! The people who make fucking Ratchet and Clank, bro, get the fuck out of here. You're not even real. You're like a figment of my imagination right now. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, they did,
But
and
dude,
it happened.
that's a great point. And Sony is gotta like they have to look into their own past and realize this because those are two good examples. But another one is Gorilla, dude. Like they would have not gotten Horizon, which they are now going to try to turn into the most run into the ground IP in video games, if they didn't let Gorilla spread their wings from Killzone and make something
Yep,
different and try to make something different. You know, you need to
yep.
give your teams the ability to be creative, and I do feel like Sony is stifling that a little bit right now. Maybe not intentionally, and maybe even the studios aren't asking to make anything different. But if they're not, though, I almost feel like that's a shame. Like they should be encouraged. Like, hey, maybe explore, take like 10 people and go explore some idea on the side that you guys have been thinking about, some like whiteboard idea that you had. You know, just like go make a little prototype and just see what it looks like. You know,
Yeah,
like they should be
it's
doing that stuff, and maybe they probably are, but like
yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
they probably are, but it's just like I said. It's like it's that creative
it's
drive,
not
right?
resulting in anything though. You know,
Yeah, but
that's the
we
problem. That's
wouldn't.
the
We
thing.
would. I feel like that what you're talking about, where people just go off and kind of like do their own thing or whatever. I really want to know the developer diary behind Ghost of Tsushima because there's that has so much creativity into it as far as like passion. Like
Oh yeah,
someone sat
yeah.
down and watched the old samurai movie and was like, I want to make that. And they did. You know, so like that's
No, and every like ounce of that game is just like oozes detail that like people really put themselves into that game and like
and that's why I'm so
made
scared
something
for the second
excellent.
game, bro. I'm
Yeah,
so
I know.
scared for the second game.
I agree with you. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they're gonna hit that same mark. You know.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, for sure.
It's very
And
rare for like for in my opinion, for like what Insomnia did with Spider-Man. It's very rare to hit that shit 3 times in a row. Like
yeah,
you nailed out the park 3 times in a row. And I don't know for Ghost of Tsushima, man. Like, yeah, that game was just such a. It came out of nowhere. First of all, it came out of nowhere. Like we saw it, it was like, whatever. And then we played the game, and we were like, holy shit, this game's fucking good. Like I don't know. I just think about that game because I just remember us writing that game off like, it just looks very weird. I don't know about
it
this
looks like
game.
a
And then,
shitty. It looks like a weird, like Assassin's Creed ripoff. I mean, that's what we
yeah,
were talking
exactly,
about it as. Those were the terms, and then we started. Then we played it, and we were like, "Oh my god! Like, could we have did more wrong?" Jesus,
exactly.
like, well, to last thing on this, like to Layden's point about somebody saying no to Call of Duty for 15 years isn't suddenly going to say yes. I have played Call of Duty once in my life and never again. So, and it was literally for about 10 minutes. So, no, and I have no interest in COD. I don't want to play COD. You guys bring it up all the time in the multiplayer, like there's a multiplayer game we can play, and I'm like, you guys can have fun with that. I'm good. Thank you. See you later. Um, and that is more than likely never going to change for me. Like the only thing I've thought about is maybe picking one up on the uber cheap for like $5, like one of the older ones for a camp to play a campaign, maybe.
Mhm.
But even that, I'm just like, you know what, dude? Like, why? Why? Why am I gonna break this like almost principled stance I have against Call of Duty just to play one of their campaigns? Like, I don't fucking care, dude. Like, there's other games I could be playing, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think that last point was very well made. Like honestly, the more I read this quote, I'm like, this was really well said, and he just said it like
Yeah,
off the cuff, you know. So Shawn Layden, I mean, he's fucking legit, dude. He knows what he's fucking talking about. So
yeah.
more companies should listen to him.
I feel like Phil is a little bit of the same way. I feel like he's just beholden to Xbox right now. But I feel like
Yeah,
once he quit or once he like retires, he's gonna be the same way. Like
yeah,
I regret some things and I've whatever.
yeah,
I feel like people give Phil a lot of shit, but I feel like that guy really cares about video games. Like he really plays video
yeah.
games, in my
I think
opinion.
he does too, and he just happens to find himself running Xbox. You know,
Yeah.
like if he was in a different position, I think we would be we would talk about him a lot differently. Like he'd be a different guy in the industry, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So all right, Montreal, let's move on to our final story for the week is September Circana numbers, formerly known as MPD numbers. We'll go through these really quickly. But things looking pretty good this month for the video game industry. So, total video game sales for September 2023, basically 4.5 billion versus 4.07 billion last year. That is a 10% increase in total sales for the industry. Video game content. This is physical, digital, full game sales, DLC, microtransactions, etc. 3.8 basically 3.85 billion last this year versus 3.4 billion last year. That is a 13% increase. Video game hardware, interestingly, 451 million this year versus 490 last year. That is a minus 8% decrease on hardware sales. And then video game accessories, 177 million this year versus 197 million this year versus 177 million last year. That is an 11% increase. And then year to date sales, 39.38 billion this year versus 39.43 billion last year. That's a 2% increase. Video game content, 34 billion basically this year versus 33.5 billion last year at this time, 2% increase. And then video game hardware, 3.7 billion this year versus 3.35 billion last year. That's a 10% increase. And then for accessories, 1.6 billion this year versus 1.58 billion last year, 1% increase there. Good month for the industry, Montreal.
Yeah.
Not a surprise when we get to the top 20 best-selling games list. Probably see why, but strong month overall.
Yeah, very strong month. And I
And
understand why units were pushing because this was a strong month for games as far as different types of games coming out.
Mm-hmm. New games. Top 20 best-selling games in the U.S. For September 2023. Number 1, Starfield. Number 2, which we'll get to that in a second. Number 2, Mortal Kombat 1. Number 3, EA Sports FC 24. Name change. What name change? Number 4, Madden NFL 24. Number 5, Payday 3. Number 6, NBA 2K24. Number 7, The Crew Motorfest. Number 8, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Number 9, Hogwarts Legacy. Number 10, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 11, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 12, Resident Evil 4. Number 13, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Number 14, Minecraft. 15, Mario Kart 8.
Mario Kart fucking 8.
16, Rainbow Six Siege. 17, Gran Turismo 7. 18, Elden Ring. 19, Sea of Thieves. 20, Diablo 4. What's sticking out to you there, Montreal?
To be honest with you, I thought the name change would hurt EA Sports, but it didn't. They're selling. The Crew actually.
I know, what the hell?
Yeah, that one was really weird. It sold more than fucking Armored Core, which is really weird.
And Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
I believe Starfield at 1, I think, is very notable because this game was on Game Pass on day 1, and it's still the top selling game.
So they don't count Game Pass sales, right?
No, no, those aren't sales. That's why we never see Xbox games on this list. You never see Microsoft games on here, almost ever. Okay. Which is funny. Sea of Thieves is on here actually, interestingly enough, this month as well. But generally speaking, Microsoft is almost never on this list for that reason. So that is very, very strong. Starfield has delivered for Microsoft, I would say. I think it's safe to say that at this point, both commercially and critically. So
yeah, you can't count it out. I mean, I know to me it is an outdated game as far as the way it plays, but you can't count it out. You can't. And people can complain about it, people can bitch about it, but it did sell, and this is proof. Another thing I wanted to really touch on real quick is Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this is just for like fighting game community people or whatever. They have this really weird stigma against Mortal Kombat. They hate the game. Mm-hmm. Especially Street Fighter people, Guilty Gear, and Tekken people. They fucking hate Mortal Kombat to the core. And someone said like, "Hey, Mortal Kombat," or they said Street Fighter is more likely if there was a world where fighting games could get Game of the Year, they said that Street Fighter would get Game of the Year over
Mm-hmm.
Mortal Kombat, and I said, "Fuck no." And they were like, "Yeah, boy, because Street Fighter is a vastly better game." And I'm like, whether it's a better game or not, I literally have a podcast that covers NPD numbers every fucking month. Mortal Kombat 11 was constantly on the NPD charts.
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That game would win Game of the Year over any fucking fighting game. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tekken fans. I'm sorry, Guilty Gear fans. I'm sorry, Dragon Ball Z Fighter fans and Street Fighter fans. Like, this game is literally shitting on y'all game as far as sales numbers wise. Because it appeals to both the hardcore and casual gamer. So I really want people to start respecting Mortal Kombat, because I can play
Mm-hmm.
Mortal Kombat for the story and not even touch multiplayer, and I still get like 30 to 40 hours of the content just off the single player alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why Mortal Kombat is selling well, y'all. So stop being a hater.
Well, to your point too. I mean, think about like Street Fighter 6 came out this year.
It did. Did it appear on the charts at all?
That's what I'm trying to look through right now. I know it was on the release month for sure. Yeah, Street Fighter 6 was on August. And it was also on July, and and it came out in June. So, and it was definitely on the June. So it was on here for 3 months, and then it fell off this month. It's not in the list here. So I'm assuming it's probably somewhere in the low 20s. Like, it's not too far off this list, I would assume. But
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat definitely has more provenance with the general gamers than Street Fighter did, because in the best-selling games of the year list, which I haven't read through yet, Mortal Kombat jumped up to 8 immediately, and leapfrog Street Fighter 6, which is at 13. So that is notable. Like, Mortal Kombat
shit.
is more popular than Street Fighter, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, that isn't even a question. So
16 is still up here.
yeah. So, anything else on the for the monthly list you want to talk through? Mario Kart 8. I mean, the month I don't see Mario Kart 8, I will be concerned.
Exactly.
Like, something is sincerely wrong if Mario Kart 8 isn't on the list.
Remember, Mortal Kombat X was that game, or 11 was that game too. It was almost on every list. And we were like,
yeah, but that's a little different. Mario Kart 8's been on this list for literally like 8 years in a row, probably.
Yeah.
It's fucking insanity. I don't know, but
yeah, how many units? I really want to know how many units that shit has moved.
Mario Kart, they have it. You can go look it up. It's public.
It is.
Yeah, no, dude. Nintendo publishes their sales numbers like publicly. They don't hide this information. Hold on, I'm gonna throw this in the chat for you. Like, it's on their website. It's literally on their website for each console, like each of their most recent consoles, like going back to Nintendo DS.
Oh shit! I didn't know I thought they hid those numbers.
Yeah, no. This is public. Nintendo. This is an awesome thing about Nintendo. They don't hide these numbers, obviously for reasons right now that, like, I mean, they're just kicking ass. But even when the Wii U era, when things were shit, they still have the Wii U stuff published. Like, they still did it back then too. They didn't hide that information. So yeah, Mario Kart 8, 55.46 million units. Yes, Mario Kart 8, psychotic, dude. Like, so yeah, no, they're and this is as of June 30th this year, so this is even higher now. I would bet it's probably more like 57, 58 million.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah. So,
dude,
yeah.
Mario Kart 7 sold 18 million.
Yeah,
on
dude.
The fucking 3DS.
Oh,
Pokemon X and Y sold 16 million. This is insane, bro. Super Mario 3D Land was. I'm sorry, y'all. This is actually, y'all gotta look at these numbers. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude, man.
Animal Crossing, New Horizons.
That's dude, Scarlet and Violet, right? The most lambasted Pokemon games probably in our lives. 22.66 million copies sold. Like, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Dude, this is, remember, June 30th. So this is basically the game having been out for a month and a half. 18.5 million copies sold. Like, fucking dude, like, Zelda's probably way higher on this list now. It's probably closer to Breath of the Wild, I would say, at this point. But Wii U's funny though. Like, if you look top game on that one, what is it? Mario Kart 8, 8.5 million units sold. So that's separated from Mario Kart 8 on Switch. What you're seeing on Switch is just the Switch sales, Montrell. So combine that with the Wii U sales, it's actually 64 million copies sold of Mario Kart 8 total.
This
So
is insane, bro.
yeah, bro. And then if you go look at Wii, what's the top selling game on Wii? Mario Kart Wii, outside of Wii Sports. Mario Kart Wii, 37 million units. Like, what the fuck? And then 3DS, yeah, Mario Kart 7. And then DS is the only one that's not a Mario Kart game at the top. But Mario Kart DS is still at 23.6 million units sold. Like, what the fuck? Dude, Mario Kart is so popular. Like, I can't even wrap my head around how popular Mario Kart is. You know, it doesn't make any sense. It literally makes no sense. But
Look at the DS.
oh yeah, DS
Heart
killed
Gold
it,
is
dude.
damn. Heart Gold and Soul Silver sold 12 million copies, bro.
Yep.
Oh my god, bro.
But Diamond and Pearl and Black and White, yeah. So Heart Gold, Soul Silver sold that much, and they were remakes. You know, Diamond and Pearl were at 17.6 million, and
This
Black and White
company
were
ain't going nowhere.
15.6. Nah, bro, they're fucking dude. They got it.
Nintendo sold 23 million.
Yes, sir, dude. Of course.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man. Brain Age and Brain Age 2. Do you remember those?
Dude, I bought it because I liked it, but I didn't think it was that popular.
Oh yeah. Yep. And then Animal Crossing even making an appearance on the DS list too.
Yeah,
Um
people gotta respect Nintendo. Holy
oh yeah.
shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're just flexing. They're just out here like, here, hey guys, this is how much we sold. Fuck y'all. You can have your
Wow.
Last of Us 2s and fucking, Starfields. We don't give a shit. Fuck y'all.
Probably a fraction of the budget too for each of those games.
Absolutely, dude. Dude, Mario Kart is probably got to be the most profitable video game of all time. Like, and I'm saying that over, well, okay, that's probably not true with Minecraft, but because Minecraft like eclipsed like 300 million recently.
I
So,
think so,
which is,
yeah. That's
that's probably the most profitable game of all time. But, like GTA is sold like 185, I think, is GTA 5, but that
yeah.
one had a humongous budget, so you got to take that out of the sales numbers. But it's fucking like Mario Kart 8's crazy. So all right, top 20 games of the year so far in the US. We'll just go through this real quick. Hogwarts Legacy is still holding on at number 1. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So we know what the sales of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are, Montreal, right? As of June 30th, they're at 18.5 million, meaning that Hogwarts
Wow.
Legacy sold more than that and likely has sold even more because, June 30th was 3 months ago. Actually, no, 4 months ago as of this public information from Nintendo. So they're probably even higher than that they're still holding on to the top spot. They're probably in the 25,
Oh
30
my
million range.
god, J.K.
Like,
Rowling is swimming in
oh,
money
she
right
is
now.
loving it right now, dude. Like, oh my god, all the haters go to hell. And then number 2 is Tears of the Kingdom. Number 3, Madden NFL 24. Number 4 is Diablo 4. Number 5, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 6, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 7, Starfield. Number 8,
Wow.
Mortal Kombat 1. Number
Whoa.
9, Resident Evil 4. Number 10, MLB The Show 23. Number 11, Dead Island 2. Number 12, Final Fantasy 16. Number 13, Street Fighter 6. Number 14, EA Sports FC 24. Number 15, FIFA 23. Number 16 is Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Number 17 is Elden Ring. Number 18 is Remnant 2. 19, Dead Space Remake. And 20 is Mario Kart 8.
Card
Until
8.
next month. They'll probably get knocked off by Mario Wonder this month, I would assume. The interesting thing I want to think about too, we need to keep track of this for the November numbers, is when Call of Duty comes out. How quickly does it get to number 1, if at all, this year? Because it actually has some steep competition to get to the top. 30 million
Yeah.
is not like anything to scoff at. That's a lot of games. So can the newest Call of Duty get there in 2023 in a month and a half or 2 months? That'll be interesting to watch for sure, certainly. But definitely some formidable numbers on here for the year.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
I'm actually just surprised at the diversity of the games on this list.
Yeah, it is fair.
Yeah, I like that. I like Dead Island too.
Final Fantasy,
Fucking Final Fantasy. You
Armored
got
Core, dude.
Armored Core. Yeah,
Yeah.
Remnant too. Like that's really good. Like
Like,
Dead
did you
Space is
ever think Armored Core 6 would be on the top 20 best-selling games of the year list?
fuck no. I thought that game was gonna bomb. Like I'll be 100% honest with you, bro. I thought this
Yeah.
shit was gonna bomb.
The
Uh,
FromSoft name carried it, man.
yeah,
It really
carried
did.
it hard.
How many people, dude, that never have played Armored Core in their fucking lives, like didn't even know what it was before it was announced, this game was announced, played this shit,
Bro,
like
I
probably
just
80% of the players.
I just recently tried to buy Armored Core for Answer, and it jumped up to $70. I was so fucking irritated because people are buying these.
Oh,
People are going back and buying the older games now. So
they probably hate him.
now they like them. Some people actually made a mod to make the controls better, more modern to
Wow.
fucking Armored Core 4 or Armored Core
Okay.
6 rather. Yeah, so they're
Interesting.
modding those games now.
Interesting. So, well, it is interesting to look at these numbers though. Diablo 4 is having a good year for Activision for sure. Like I would put that game probably in the 10, 12 million range, I would think. But we don't know. Like we know Hogwarts is probably, you know, 25 million ish. We know Zelda is probably in the low 20s somewhere. And then we don't really know anything after that. Like Madden, NFL 24, I mean, certainly has got to be in the teens somewhere, I would think. And then Diablo is somewhere between probably 10 and 15 million, I would think. Um, just kind of guesstimating, and then you've got Call of Duty after that, which I mean, dude, that's fucking nuts that they're number 5 for the year, last year's game. But so Starfield, I mean, like with the Game Pass numbers and the player counts they had, I mean, I don't know, like 7 or 8 million, maybe, probably somewhere in there for that, and that's number 7. So the further down you go, I mean, we're talking, single digits, lower single digits for most of these games. And then Final Fantasy, I think we know that hit like 3 million, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
3
yeah.
million sold, and that's number 12. So, I mean, you can kind of start guesstimating these numbers a little bit with some of the stuff that we know, some of the actual numbers that have been reported by companies or announced. So it's kind of interesting to start like trying to piece that together, with this list. But yeah, strong sales, strong year. I mean, dude, this year for games has been fucking nuts.
I agree. It's been super fucking crazy. I don't know if you left this year saying that games was dying, then I don't know what to tell you. Uh,
Yeah,
um,
you're just not looking hard enough for
yeah,
things that interest
I
you.
was
Like,
about to have that take, and then I was like, yeah, no, that's a fucking lie. Like this year has been super great for games, and it's not just like the base Call of Duties and all of the Final Fantasies and nothing like that. I think almost every genre got its chance to shine this year.
oh yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah, man.
even like your strategic RPGs and everything like that. Your
Fire Emblem at the beginning
JRPGs.
of the year,
Yeah,
and we got Persona Tactica coming out next month.
yeah. It was a really good year for gaming. Um, I don't think we're going to get another year like this for a while. This year certainly spoiled a lot of people, and even to the beginning of next year, it's going to be really good for gaming.
Yeah, and I mean it's not even over yet, dude.
Yeah,
Like we just got Mario and fucking Spider-Man, and then we have coming up, like I said, Persona 5 Tactica. And then there is that Avatar game that I think people are sleeping on. Like that game does look really good. And that's coming in December as well. And I'm trying to remember what else is in there. Oh yeah, the Super Mario RPG remake, Star Ocean. That one's not a big one, but I think it's going to be a good game, for sure. So there's still a lot of stuff to come that's exciting also, but it doesn't let up, dude. Like if you're playing Avatar, and you're interested in that Prince of Persia game, you got a month, maybe 5 weeks between those two releases, and it's like usually in a period of the year that's slow. So dude, it's like it's like constant right now. Like this year going into next year, and I think next year is going to be similar to this year. Like I think these are going to be two crazy years when we put them side by side.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
All right, Montrell, that's all we got for the news. Yeah, we've gone for quite a bit today. We went a little bit longer than I think we intended. So, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
No, sir.
All right, let's get you out of here. All right, guys, if you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show, whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage. For Montrell, that is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that's going to be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week. Bye.